bring in Foundation for Defense of Democracy's senior fellow Behnam Ben Taleblu and retired Air Force Brigadier General and Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt. Behnam, let's go to you first. Israeli officials and media, as well as Iranian sources, very tight-lipped about this overnight strike. What do you think happened here?
Pleasure to be with you. In fact, you said the quiet part out loud, which is that all three sides are quite quiet. The U.S. hasn't been saying much, the Israelis have been essentially silent, and the Iranians have put forward this meager thesis of some drones that had triggered some of their surface-to-air missile and air defense systems, and then things went back to normal. In fact, the fact that Iranian press had to stress consistently for about half of Friday that things were so normal was a sign of how abnormal it really had been. I just wanted to pivot quickly to mention two pieces of news, both one from Jerusalem Post and one from ABC, talking about that the strike was carried out by aircraft, which could be a game changer in this shadow war between Israel and Iran, the ability of Israel to either penetrate Iranian airspace with aircraft and be undetected, or to go to the edge of Iranian airspace with Iraq or another country and fire standoff weaponry. That too could be a game changer. So I think this was both technically designed to draw a contrast between Iran's failed strike and Israel's more precise, successful one, and have a symbolic bit of resonance because they allegedly struck a radar tied to one of Iran's nuclear facilities at Natanz, but Natanz and Isfahan are actually quite close to each other. Yeah. And the day of the strike, April 19th, in the wee hours of the morning, that's the supreme leader of Iran's birthday.
All right. Well, let's ask somebody who knows a thing or two about planes, last I checked. General Holt, this seemed like a measured response. The Iranians, as we've been discussing, downplaying it. If more was accomplished by the strike, why wouldn't we hear that from Tel Aviv?
Oh, I think this is 5D chess, Tom, and it just could not be better. This is an air campaign done the right way. This has got lots of strategic benefits to Israel. So why talk about it if your enemy just wants to slink away? Don't goad your enemy to come back to the battlefield. What they did was they proved that they could seize the element of surprise. They proved that they are not tethered to whatever DC says that they should do. And they proved that they can at will take any target they want in Iran, that they've got the electronic warfare gear, that they can blind their systems, that they can hold any target in Iran at risk. And they did. And they showed that in a measured way that gives the mullahs something to think about. And so the benefits just accrue. Now, what has happened is Israel has restored deterrence in the region. They have galvanized support for their leadership in the region, not our leadership, but theirs. And I think it's a very, very good day for stability in the region. I am worried about what Hezbollah does next and the rest of the proxies, but I think the Israelis are already getting after them.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that in a second. But, you know, we're so used to, in this country, playing war and diplomacy via cable news, where everything is a press conference, everything is a leak, everything is, well, we're going to talk about it for 3 weeks before we actually do it. The Israelis do it the right way, and they just go and do it. Behnam, let's talk about next moves here. What would you expect to see out of Israel next?
Well, it certainly seems like there is renewed interest and renewed attention in continuing the campaign against Hamas, which brings the focal point back to the Levant, back to the Eastern Mediterranean, and brings the political fate of Rafah back to the fore. We know that's where the last of the Hamas terrorists have been hiding, as the IDF has been successful across the north and the middle, and now moving down further south into the Gaza Strip. That's where the Biden administration, at least politically, was pumping the brakes. That's where Iran tried to put some distance between Israel and America, two strategic partners, with those missile strikes, but it actually brought them together. One hopes now that they can stay together as Israel either finishes off Hamas or holds back some of these other proxies in the region.
Yeah, I want to, General, I want to go to you real quick on these proxies, because it does appear, from what I understand, that they are stepping up attacks on Hezbollah. Rather than focusing on attacking Iran, wouldn't a focus on the proxies now be far more beneficial to Israel's long-term security? Real quick for me.
Yeah, no, they showed the knives to Iran, took them off the sidelines, nailed the supply chains and the leadership that supports Hezbollah. They're potentially orphaned. Hezbollah has a real problem now because Rafah is going to get wrapped up, and then the intensity is going to go right to Hezbollah, and the Israelis are going to close that chapter as well.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your perspectives, gentlemen. Behnam Ben Taleblu and General Blaine Holt. Appreciate you.
Great to be with you both.
Thank you.